Really do those jersey retirements right. Remember they did Manu's last year. This is so classy. Welcome back to The Jump. Now joining us is our front office insider, Amin Elhassan. And I want to talk about what we just saw with Tony Parker's jersey retirement. When you think about the various big threes, and we saw him shout out his guys there. By the way, I'd like to say about Tim Duncan, if he doesn't speak to you in the first year, he just might not be speaking that year. It might not be personal. Anyway, you heard him shout out Tim and Manu. So I want to know where you think their big three ranks among the all-time trios.
It's hard to rank them. I mean, if you name them, you got Bird, Parrish, Kevin McHale, Scott, Worthy-Jabbar, right? Magic. You got, obviously you have...
That's four, by the way, though. You don't get to, you have to pick for a team.
I try to shout out B. Scott, right? You've got the Heatles, right? Bosh, Wade, and LeBron. You've got the Warriors with KD, Steph, and Clay. You go further back, you got Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, Earl the Pearl. You got Bill Russell, and take your pick of whoever. You got this gentleman right here with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. The list goes on and on.
I hear you just not answering.
But
That's
I mean,
what I hear.
it's one of those questions that can't be answered. But what we can say that's special about these guys is three guys who were not born in this country, right? Which is very, very rare. You think about Tim Duncan. He's American, but he grew up in the Virgin Islands. He was a swimmer up until a hurricane destroyed his swimming pool, so then he had to pick up basketball.
Poor thing.
Well, just the idea that the three guys who are not from here would play the most games together and win the most as a result. That longevity. It was just something truly special.
And we talked a lot on the show yesterday. I remember so specifically covering some of the prejudice against Tony Parker and just the people who didn't want to give him a shot because of where he came from and what he was and how he just kept like a bulldog fighting back and saying, I deserve this. And learned, too, that he took the criticism and got better from it.
And internally, by the way, forget about the outside world. He had to. Pop didn't believe in him. Pop was an RC and
Pop didn't believe in Ginobili either in the beginning. So.
Well, I mean, Ginobili was wild. That was the other thing. Like he was wild.
You think?
So can you bail us out here, Jackie? Because Mr. I won't commit to anything.
All right, so I'll commit to this. To me, the most lethal trio during their time together, and you didn't even mention them.
Who?
Jordan, Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. 72 wins. By far the most lethal. But this is the most enduring, and I think it's important. Because remember now, you could do Russell, Cousy, and Heinsohn. You could do Russell, Cousy, and Sam Jones. You can't even decide who the third one is. So that's why I think in terms of enduring, these guys transcended a decade and still won together. And there was never any doubt who the three were. So I think that's what separates them. Hopefully that answers.
I think when you look at them, if you look at them individual, and you say the big threes across the board, whether it's Jordan, Magic, Bird, you're going to say, all right, Bird, McHale, Parrish, Hall of Famers. Jordan, Rodman, Pippen, Hall of Famers. Now, when you look at these guys, you know Tim Duncan's going to be a Hall of Famer, possibly Manu Ginobili, but will Tony Parker be a Hall of Famer? So
I think he will be.
If he does, then, you know, you can say, all right, this is where they rank. But I think until that's done, of course they've won more games, they've won a lot of titles, but, you know, you got a lot of guys, big threes, that are like, top 50, three guys in the top 50. So I think you got to rank them like that. Even though they've won more, they've been together longer, I think you rank them amongst their individual rank in history compared to the other guys.
Looking at guys as a big three had kind of fallen out for a while, and when Ray Allen and KG joined you in Boston, the terminology kind of came back into vogue of calling you guys the big three.
The new big three.
What did that feel like when people started calling you that?
Well, before that, it was about having two guys. You know, and that's what all that mattered. But when you had three guys on one team of that caliber, you haven't seen that in quite some time. You know, three guys who've been 10-time All-Stars. You got an MVP already, Ray Allen, multiple All-Stars, and you haven't had three guys together with these type of accolades come together yet. And so, you know, it formed a new big three, and thus you saw the Heatles were born right after that. And then so on and so on.
Now, I know that you and Rajon are tight now, and KG. There was a little bit, though, of calling these guys the big three, not the first year, but after Rondo started improving, It caused a little acrimony,
No, but it was.
It became a big four, though. He
did, but
he became a big four.
But you know what else? I think that union for Ray Allen catapulted him into a completely different stratosphere because he played very well on a lot of different teams. He had to sacrifice shots, as you know this. He had to sacrifice his role. Did it so beautifully that he then got to be part of what Miami was doing. I think it solidified in Ray Allen's Hall of Fame experience. I really do.
One of the special things about the Spurs big three all drafted by the Spurs. You look all those names we named.
Right.
Dennis wasn't a Bull originally. Parrish wasn't originally a Celtic. Obviously, Ray and KG weren't originally Celtics. So all those, Kareem wasn't originally a Laker. All those other ones they acquired.
Right.
They homegrown 3 superstars.
Yep.
But that's when we have to go to the Wayback Machine because Russell, Cousy Hines, and Russell, Cousy, Sanjo. What do you mean it doesn't count? Because you didn't remember it? Oh, come on, man.
Free agency.
And there's no free agency.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Let's
doesn't
talk about
count.
Steph
You're going to tell
Curry.
Russell he doesn't count? Good luck, man. And Cousy's still around, too. And now I got to go back and see Tommy Heinsohn and tell him it doesn't count. Thanks a lot, man.
I loved hearing Steph Curry actually talk for himself last night because there's been so many stories about him the last week. Take a look at what he had to say.
I definitely expect to be ready to play. I don't know when, but at some point in early spring. It's just a matter of the rehab process. I'm excited about the potential that the rest of the season isn't lost.
So this was so interesting, right? Because he breaks his hand about 10 days ago. He has surgery. They say he'll be reevaluated in 3 months, which at the time we were all like, I mean, you had just had surgery on your hand. 3 months is a long time. So it's sort of like wink, wink. Hey, we know what this team is doing, trying to keep its draft pick. But he said in that press conference that the plan is for him to have the pins taken that got put in that surgery, then taken out. And then he's going to recover after that as well. We saw Kyrie Irving have some of the metal that was put in his knee get infected with that staph infection later on. So maybe they're just trying to make sure and keep him totally locked down. Early spring is not soon, right? So he knocked down the report that he wasn't going to come back at all this year, but early spring is still, for a team that's not expected to make the playoffs, is that like a month of playing? What are we talking about? Is there a point, Amin, in bringing him back at all?
I mean, look, the draft pick is safe, I think. It's top 20 protected. They're clearly not going to have one.
Not sending that to Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's not happening. So or Memphis.
Oh, did they get
or
it
Brooklyn?
now?
It is Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
I'm sorry. But anyway, so that's cool right there. So now you're talking about the players who are young players who are getting time, lots of time to develop and learn the system in longer than 2 or 3 minute stints here or there.
Right.
So that's a thing. But at some point, Curry has to come back because whatever they experience running that system, even D'Angelo Russell, that's not what it really is until you got Steph in there. So there is some value in terms of the development of everybody else. But in terms of, I just don't see them being in the playoff picture by then.
No, they won't be in the playoff picture, but, there's a lot of legacy things on the line for him.
Absolutely.
I mean, why would he want to waste the whole year? If he has a chance to come back, he's going to come back. He has records that he's going to break. He's continually making records. I mean, this is about, maybe they won't make the playoffs, but this guy is going to be one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time. And so everything now is icing on the cake. And so he's just going to add to his legacy, whether it be more points, threes, whatever kind of statistics he's going to put up. Just like we saw Kobe doing this last few years when he passed Michael Jordan. Even though they weren't winning, it was legacy. It was more added to his legacy. And that's what he's going to do. Guys who are competitive want to go out there and play.
Yeah, and how about just because it's the right thing to do?
Yeah.
He's 31 years old, and we're all going to just blow off this season for him?
I agree.
I wouldn't want to do that if I were a player. You're shaking your head. I mean, if you were hurt and you had a chance to come back, wouldn't you want to play, work out the kinks? It's not like when you pull out David Robinson to get Tim Duncan, right? That's not this situation as far as we know.
Well, I mean,
because it could end up
that way. That's
similar.
It could get that way, but
if
if he comes back with a month, let's say, do you think he's going to dramatically change the fortunes of the team? And we don't know what's going to happen with Clay. I think this is just the right thing to do for Steph Curry and for the Warriors.
Well, apparently this runs in the family. Damian Lee, Steph's brother-in-law, broke his hand as well. They say he's only going to be out a couple weeks, so we will see.
What's happening with hands?
I know, it has been crazy. Gordon Hayward, Kyle Lowry, right? It's just a lot going on right now.
Little bones.
Little.
I still have 2 pins right here.
There you go. I like Steph. I like Steph coming back to play this year. We keep talking about Gordon Hayward. OG had a year-long layoff. It took him a long time to come back. We talk about Kristaps Porzingis, 20-month layoff. Then you got time to come back. Don't make your layoff so long, and then you won't need as much time to come back. And I know Steph wants to come out of the gates firing next year. They will have a lot to prove to a lot of people. Jackie, thanks so much for joining us today. You will be back tomorrow. These guys are sticking around, so you have to stick around too, because we're talking about James Harden. He's averaging 37 points per game at the moment. Is that something, nothing, or everything? Stick around for that. And here's what the Jump recommends for today. Really interesting piece from Kevin Arnovitz. It's a column and sort of just look taking us inside the silent tension surrounding Daryl Morey. if you want to know kind of how it was on the Maury side of this crazy
great
drama, Kevin has it. It's really, really good. Take a look at that during the break.
Best writers we have.
Kyle Korver, you know. Make denials. Kawhi finds a cutting Montrezl Harrell, who tries to pack it with 2 hands.
That was nice.
Whoa.
Gets turned away with 2 hands by Chris Boucher.
You don't see Montrez get blocked too much at the rim either. That's why that was nice right there.
Nope.
Chris Boucher. The Raptors are at it again. Great little finds that we don't know about.
I wish I could have got a 2-hand block in my play.
Yeah, but how about when you catch it after you block it?
Right, exactly.
See, the thing about a good block is your team has to get the block, right? So they don't retain possession. So sorry, not the best block of the week. You got to retain possession on the block.
2-handed blocks are pretty fun.
Man, that's.
Come on, Mark, get your paws out.
I wish I had any of those, just one in my highlight. I played the game 30 years.
You didn't block anybody?
High school, junior high, NBA.
You're not that old,
Come on, man.